Hi, I'm Troy Vitullo. I live in Longmont, Colorado, in the United States. My PHP MySQL experience started with making bespoke e-commerce sites and data management tools. Soon after I started developing in PHP, I also started deploying WordPress sites as a consultant. Some sites were off the shelf, many require custom plugins or fork themes. Fast forwarding to today, and now I work full-time for Colorado Public Radio, where I manage our headless WordPress sites. This is definitely the most complicated website project I have developed. CPR decided to go with the headless WordPress stack to get the reactive behavior of a single page application and the content-centric features that come with WordPress out of the box. For example, we have an audio stream playing, and we want it to play continuously while people surf through the site. That's pretty hard to do with a regular out-of-the-box WordPress deployment because it doesn't have a reactive front end. It doesn't rely on JavaScript to render all the information on the page. Um, that's really the big reason why we went headless. And that headless environment creates a lot of complexity. One project that highlights that complexity is my work for our events calendar. Each of our major stations has its own events calendar, um, and it uses the Events Calendar Pro plugin on the back end. However, our job is to write a front end to talk to that plugin. Normal WordPress users get that out of the box with Events Calendar Pro, but since we are headless, we have to basically write anything that talks to the API. We have to rebuild it from the ground up. So if you click on an event, you'll see it looks just like any other post page. If we were to view the source, you wouldn't see any WordPress specific HTML tags or anything like that. This is all written in React and calls the backend. If you look at the backend calls, what you'll notice first is that it's not the usual kind of endpoints. That's because as part of our headless deployment, we rely on a plugin called Corp News, written by Fueled, formerly 10up. That plugin serves as an intermediary between our front end and WordPress's own API. That allows us to have more specific API calls, and also it helps hide some WordPress API calls that aren't necessary, just to help keep things a little more secure. So in this case, what I did was I got to dig through all the custom endpoints and find exactly how we attach to the Events Calendar Pro plugin. I got to grab all of the data from that, and then I got to render it um, using React. What we get looks pretty simple on the outside, but there's a lot of conditionals, a lot of good fun inside there to make sure that we were actually rendering for any kind of event possible. The last question for this video is, why do I want to work with Supreme Optimization? So I was scrolling through LinkedIn, looking at the ads, and I'm sure you know from your side of things that it feels kind of like a meat market sometimes. LinkedIn optimizes for applying for jobs quickly, and I think probably on your end, it optimizes for weeding out resumes just as quickly. What stopped me in my tracks was that you guys decided to just bypass all of that and say, instead, send us an email, and you had very specific instructions about how you wanted that email to look. That just gamified me. It pulled me right in and made me want to look more into what you were doing because I found it a very elegant way to get around a lot of the problems that, the economies of scale that come with like major job sites. Um, Anyway, yeah, so I found it really elegant and I just started digging more into Supreme Optimization. And it seems like that kind of elegance, you know, trickles through your entire organization. You're a small organization, you're fully remote, and you just have a ton of really smart people on your team, and I would love to be a part of it. Thanks for listening.